Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. So in my last video I did say that I was going to film a video about reparenting and how to reparent your inner child, which I'm still working on. I've sat down to try to film it a couple of times, but I'm experiencing some sort of like blockage, or I feel like I'm missing some information. So I don't know, the way that I film my videos, the process is kind of hard to explain, but instead of keeping you waiting, I decided that I would put out another video in the meantime. So this video is going to be about traumatic reenactment and why you keep dating the same person over and over again. Specifically, if you keep dating a person who is neglectful or abusive. I think a lot of us can relate to this. It's like we get into a emotionally abusive or emotionally neglectful relationship, and then we get out of it, and then we seem to meet someone exactly like our ex, and then we date them, and then we get out of it, and then we just keep on going through it with the same pattern with different people. So pretty much I'm going to be breaking down why that is. So I think by now we all know that a large part of the reason why we choose certain partners is because of the way we were treated in childhood and the way that our parents treated us, okay? So when you have a parent who is neglectful and who abandons you emotionally or physically, or who abuses you, you experience a very deep wounding as a child, and that gets imprinted on your subconscious mind. So I have a video on the subconscious mind, and you can go and check that out so that this will make a little bit more sense. But basically in that video I break down how we are basically like human tape recorders between the ages of 0 and 7, and everything that we hear, feel, experience is embedded within us very deeply at that age. So a large part of who we are, or the majority of who we are, like our personality traits, our habits, our attachment style, were actually formed between the ages of 0 and 7, and that's why it's so important to raise children in a healthy, loving environment, because the first few years of their life pretty much dictates how they're going to behave for the rest of their lives. And just to give an example, or to further dictate my point, you see how easy it is for a child between the ages of 0 and 5 to learn multiple languages, and then as an adult it's difficult to pick up Spanish or French or German. But if you were to have learned those things between those ages, it would have been easier. So that just kind of further illustrates how our mind is expanding and growing, and how much we absorb during those first couple of years, okay? So if you have a, like I said, neglectful parent, an abusive parent, one that did not nurture you the proper way, and when I say abusive, it can literally be something that's not intentional. Like if a parent is not as affectionate, or maybe they have to work a lot and so they're not around a lot, that would be considered abuse, not in the traditional sense, because I don't want to get anybody confused here. It would be considered abuse to a child only because when we're between the ages of 0 and 7, we can't in our minds say, okay, my parent just has to work, but I know they still love me. My parents just don't like to hug that much, but I know they still love me. To a child, it's internalized, so it's imprinted on you as abuse, even if it wasn't intentional. For some parents, obviously, it's intentional, but for some, they don't understand that your child will still internalize that as not being good enough, or not feeling loved, or not being properly cared for, even if it was, like I said, not done on purpose. So you experience a very deep wound at that age when you don't get your emotional needs met. And from there forward, your mind is trying to heal that wound. So I have to repeat that and explain what I mean, because that's pretty much the basis of this video. Our minds are constantly trying to heal us, because the whole function of our mind is to make us as comfortable and happy as possible. So you see that with defense mechanisms, right? Like, there are certain things that we do with defense mechanisms that even if they're harmful for us, our mind is doing it in order to help us. So like if you have like a drug addiction, even though it's terrible for your body and it could cause you to have health complications or even pass away, you still are addicted to those drugs because your mind is trying to soothe some sort of pain. You see what I'm saying? So even if something is detrimental, our mind does it in order to protect us. And to give another example that's not as serious as drug addiction, I guess you could say, would be like the fear of failure, right? If you think about whenever you are about to set a goal, or you're about to embark on some type of new journey, you will experience a lot of fear, and you'll experience a lot of blockages, and you will probably most likely procrastinate or find a way to self-sabotage that opportunity. And even though it feels terrible because we want to be successful and we want to pursue our goals, in a way our mind is trying to protect us from failing. It's like our mind already sees the possibility of failing, and so your mind will cause you to procrastinate and self-sabotage just to keep you away from that feeling of failing. And like I said, it's something that is very frustrating because we want to push through it and we want to achieve our goals, but at the end of the day, our mind, our subconscious mind more specifically, is just trying to protect us no matter how detrimental the defense mechanism is. So back to what I was saying. Our subconscious minds are constantly trying to heal us. So if we have a wound from childhood, our mind is constantly going to attract people into our lives that remind us of that wound, because the subconscious mind wants that wound healed, right? So think about it this way. Without the internet, right? Like, let's say you didn't have the internet, you didn't have all this information at your fingertips. How would you know that you were abused as a child? How would you know that you have an abandonment wound? How would you know that you have a fear of rejection? Or like, how would you know that you have those things? You wouldn't. A lot of us know that we have these things only because we watch YouTube videos and, we have access to so much information. But if we did not have access to that information, how would we be able to tell? So basically, you would be able to tell by the people that you attract into your life, and the wound will keep playing over and over again until it's healed. And again, it is a terrible feeling because, it's kind of like, why do I keep on attracting this type of person? Why do I keep on falling in love with the same type of person? And it's frustrating. It is meant to be frustrating so that then you can finally stop and say, okay, something is wrong here, and then take the proper steps to heal yourself. You see what I'm saying? So your subconscious mind is constantly, like I said, reenacting. That's why it's called traumatic reenactment. Is constantly replaying and reenacting a certain trauma in order for it to come forward and for you to heal it. Now, there are two different routes that can be taken towards healing, and this is all going on subconsciously, like I said. First off, if you get with an abusive person that is just like your abusive parents, then your subconscious mind is working overtime to try to get that person to love you the way your parents didn't love you, because then that will cancel out the wounding from your parents. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't realize that, and a lot of people think, oh, you're just stupid for putting so much energy into this person. You're so dumb. You're so this. You know what I'm saying? But it's not even that. What they don't realize is that this is a subconscious programming that is running and trying to get you to change this person. Because in your mind, you can't change your parents. You've already tried your hardest, more than likely, and you can't change them. You can't get them to love you. So you trying to change your partner will ultimately be like that parent loving you the way they never did, and then that emotional wound will be cleared, okay? And I know this to be true because I actually dated a narcissist in college. I was engaged to one. I have a story time video about it. And there was this point in time where he was very much on his best behavior, where all of his abusive and manipulative tendencies stopped. And during that time period, it felt like everything in life was perfect. I didn't have any health complications that I usually have. I started to gain a lot of weight, which was like happy weight. And everything was just, life was just perfect. And that's the first time I could feel like my depression was lifted, like my anxiety was lifted, like everything was just perfect. Like, that's the best way I can put it. And now that I think back on it, I honestly truly think that things went that way because I had kind of gotten him to change and to love me and see me. And like I said, your subconscious mind is processing that as your emotional wounding from childhood being fixed and cleared. And so everybody in my life thought that he had changed. Everybody in my life was just like, oh my God, he's like a different man. Like, I can't believe that he's like, he did such a 180. So it wasn't just me hallucinating this. Like, everybody in my life was like, oh my God, he's so different. He's so great. And everyone was shocked to find that he did not change at all, that he had actually just gotten more sneaky. And when it came out that he actually was still doing things behind my back, all my health complications came back, my depression came back, my anxiety came back. And I truly think, looking back on it, that all of that happened because, like I said, when he was acting right, my subconscious mind processed it as my emotional wounding being fixed and healed. And when he started acting up again, all that emotional wounding came right back. So that is the reason why you go out of your way to try to get this person to love you and to admire you and validate you, because in your subconscious mind knows that there's going to be this sense of peace and bliss that's going to come with that, and I've experienced that myself. Now, this always backfires because the person that you are with that reminds you of your parents, obviously they're abusive just like your parents were. So there's a very good chance that you never get them to love you or to validate you. And that's why you will go through this terrible toxic cycle with them, and then you will break up, and then you will go on to the next person until you become fully aware. Now, also when you get into these relationships though, it's also a way for you to distract yourself from the hollow feeling and the emptiness that comes with not getting your emotional needs met as a child. So two different reasonings for getting involved, but like I said, for the most part, it's just you reenacting your trauma, trying to heal it. Now, I said that there are two methods of healing this trauma. So that was the first method, trying to get an abuser to love you and validate you. The second method is actually cutting ties with all of your abusers or all of these manipulative people, and actually stopping and really self-reflecting and seeing the patterns that you have been going through, and then doing the work on your own to heal. And that is the method that of course is going to be most effective, because like I said, with the other method, it's very unlikely that you're going to get an abusive person to heal and to heal you on top of that. It usually just doesn't work out that way. But if you were to finally get fed up with being mistreated, with being sick, with being depressed, with feeling ashamed and devalued, if you were to finally get fed up with those cycles, you would say, okay, I am going to stop all of this toxic behavior, and I am going to heal myself, or go to a therapist on top of healing yourself, because I always recommend finding a good therapist personally. But like I said, on top of therapy though, you make the conscious decision to change your life and to heal yourself, to do that inner child work, to you know, figure out what your attachment style is and to try to change it to a healthier one, to start dating people who actually want to be with you and who you don't have to fight for, to start boosting your confidence and raising your confidence, to start going after the things in life that make you feel good and make you happy. That is something that can also reverse or heal the emotional neglect and the emotional wounding that we experienced during childhood. So that is the method, obviously, that a lot of you are taking part in right now just by watching this video and by watching my channel. So pretty much you're on the right track. I guess you could say you're on the right track. And I can honestly say that this method of healing is a bit slower, but it is much more satisfying, because you know that no one can ever take that from you. Like when I was dating that guy in college, you know, it did feel really good that all I needed to do was get him to change his behavior, and then my problems were all solved. It was very little work on my end, you know, besides the fact that I had to work to get him to treat me well. But in your mind, you process it as, okay, all I need to do is get him to love me, and then we're good after that. But that gives people a certain level or a certain amount of control over you, because as you can see, when he started acting up again, my whole life just started to collapse again. And actually it was worse when he started acting up again, because I had experienced that high of feeling healed and happy and blissful, and then I experienced that crash after he started just mistreating me again. So this method of healing, of actually doing the work on your own and actually, like I said, reparenting yourself, doing your inner child work, which I'm going to do a video on, this is a method of healing that no one can take from you. It's a level of confidence that you instill within yourself that no one can take from you. It's a level of happiness and security that you instill within yourself that no one, nobody, no external circumstance can take from you. So like I said, it's a more painful route, because we do have to dig deep into our emotional wounds, and we do have to dig deep into the things that have really scarred us and hurt us, and it's a incredibly painful process, but at the same time it's very much worth it, because like I said, when you are healed, no one can take your happiness from you when you're doing it this way. And also, like I said, I always recommend therapy if you can afford it, because if you think about it, therapy is sort of like traumatic reenactment as well, because in therapy, basically they ask you things about your past, or they dig up things from your past and traumas from your past, and then give you a very controlled environment and an empathetic environment to help you work through them. So if you think about it, it's like the trauma is replaying, but then you're giving the trauma a different angle or perception, or you're finding a different way to work through that trauma as opposed to living in it. So I hope that made sense. Therapy to me is sort of like a healthy traumatic reenactment. So I think that is all. So I hope that answered the question that a lot of people have asked me: why do I keep dating the same person over and over? That is the reason why. So just continue on with your healing, continue focusing on self, continue focusing on self-love and self-care, and you are going to be just fine. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that it was helpful, and I will see you in my next video on reparenting.